Chapter 11 is called Finding the Strategic Route Forward, and it consists mainly of emergent approaches to strategy development. It has two major parts. First of all, considering strategy context before going on to consider some alternatives to the classic prescriptive approach. 4 alternatives are in fact explored. The final part of the chapter then focuses on one of those alternatives, the learning-based route, and this is explored in some depth. Let's begin with context. Strategic context means the circumstances surrounding and explaining the way that strategy operates and develops. For classic prescriptive strategy, context is assumed to involve slow, steady circumstances that are easy to predict. However, this may be an oversimplification of real strategic situations. For example, context may contain periods of upheaval and rapid growth. All this means that the context in which strategy is developed needs to be considered alongside the 2 aspects named in Chapter 10 of content and process. We therefore have 3 aspects to strategy: content, process and context. The issue therefore is how you handle uncertainty in contexts. And there are 4 routes. Route number 1 is survival-based. Survival-based strategies regard the survival of the fittest in the competitive marketplace as being the prime determinant of strategy. The ultimate objective is survival itself. This approach is adopted to develop options for use as the environment changes. Options that seek low costs are particularly useful. Beyond taking the precaution of developing strategic options, there is little that the individual organization can do. It just needs to keep its options open. There is an element of chance as to whether the organization will survive or not, according to this theory. The next route forward is called the uncertainty-based route. This regards a prescriptive defined strategy as being impossible to develop because the strategic process is unpredictable, unstable, and liable to chaotic outcome. Uncertainty-based approaches therefore involve taking small steps forward. Management needs to learn from such actions and adapt accordingly. Because of the uncertainty about the future, strategy options and selection between them using the prescriptive approach are therefore irrelevant, according to this theory. Theory number 3 is the network-based strategic route forward. This explores the links and degree of cooperation present in related organizations and industries and places a value upon that degree of cooperation. The route has 2 aspects: network externalities and network cooperation. Network externalities refer to the development of an overall standard for a network that allows those belonging to the network to benefit increasingly as others join the same network. In such externalities, the key moment is the tipping point, which is reached when the installed base of network users moves towards one company supplying the network and away from rival suppliers. The obvious example here being Microsoft with its Word and Office processing systems and its base for the personal computer networks. Network cooperation explores the links and degree of cooperation present in related organizations and industries and places a value upon that cooperation. The 4th area under consideration in Chapter 11 is the learning-based strategic route forward. This route emphasizes learning and crafting as aspects of the development of successful strategic management. It places particular importance on trial and feedback mechanisms. Within this, it's worth having a look at double loop learning. Double loop learning consists of a first loop of learning that checks performance against expected norms and adjusts where necessary. There is then a second loop that reappraises whether the expected norms were appropriate in the first place. For example, the first loop might consist of a simple consideration of return on capital versus the company's standards. The second loop might consist of a complete reappraisal of return on capital in a company because of the world economic downturn. In learning strategy, group dynamics are more important than individuals in developing new experimental strategies, and there are 5 principles to group learning: personal mastery, group mental models, shared vision, team learning, and systems thinking. Learning can be passed to other parts of the organization using heuristics, that is, decision rules that capture and summarize what has been learned by one part of the organization and then passed on to others. One of the dangers associated with learning is that the successful solution at the end of the process then becomes the dominant logic, and this stops the organization continuing to learn. There are ways of overcoming this, including good leadership.